All right, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and today I'm here to talk about Drew Sanders and Josh Reynolds and what both of them returning means to the Broncos for the playoff push. But I just want to say a couple things. Thank you for all the love you guys have been showing to me lately. Thank you for absolutely obliterating the view count, the subscriber count, and the like count on all my videos. So, yeah, I really got to owe you guys a shout out for that one. I think I'm at around 120 subscribers now. And for a new Broncos channel, that's absolutely great. So, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. You can always follow me on Twitter if you like what I have to say on here. Let's dive right into this. So, Drew Sanders, what is his role? Good question. That's what I'm trying to say is that your guess is as good as mine. So, I want to take everybody back to April 2023, and this is what I think the vision was when we drafted him. I think the vision for him was, okay, you have a guy like Josey Jewell, who's probably going to be gone after the year. And you have a guy like Drew Sanders who could, for all things considered, he was a team captain at Arkansas. Like, nobody had a bad thing to say about him. And this was big for two reasons. One, inside linebacker, you're relied on to be the quarterback of the defense. You're relied to be the guy that points everything out. So even if he didn't have the instincts there yet, he had the athleticism. Now, granted, was it top tier athleticism? No, but it is very good athleticism by and even NFL inside linebacker standards, where all the dudes are, let's face it, they're freaks. But second, I think the other vision was that they wanted captains, that they wanted guys that, after the disastrous year of 2022, Sean Payton knew he had to rebuild the team. And, they went very, very experienced and very character focused during that draft. At least that's what the message was to me. But as far as on the field, I didn't really get the vision. Because we had tried a handful of guys at inside linebacker, edge hybrid, and that just never seems to work. And even with our defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, doing a bang-up job this year, but in Arizona, he had 2 first-round picks that he tried that with back-to-back years in Isaiah Simmons and Xavier Collins. That just never ended up working out. So I'm not really sure what the vision was there. I didn't know why we trust them to do that again. Now, granted, what I will say, it would not surprise me to see some development from Drew Sanders because we've seen just so much like unforeseen development of just the most random players this past offseason. So maybe he is really that guy. Maybe he is, playing super well or not playing super well, but maybe he just impressed the coaching staff enough to where they were just like, all right, we cannot refuse to miss out on this guy for the playoff run. But last year he played primarily at inside linebacker and he looked absolutely lost. One of the biggest reasons why we had that disastrous performance in Miami was because Josey Jewell went out and nobody could get off their blocks. And even when they did, Drew Sanders was not going to be able to wrap up HN or Mostert. Now, granted, I'm not going to put that game on him. It's kind of unfair for me to do that, but it is one of the reasons that disaster happened. And he was a very reliable special teams body. I think he actually ended up getting benched after that Miami and that Chicago game. I think they were just like, all right, this year was supposed to be a redshirt year for him. He wasn't supposed to be out here. Let's take a deep breath and, just put him on special teams. And he contributed in a big way. Same with Riley Moss and Marvin Mims. So all 3 of our top draft picks transitioned our special teams overnight from an absolute laughingstock in 2021 and 2022 to a strength. And that was really good to see. And so I got to credit him for that as well. And on defense, the game started to slow down for him a little bit. Just a little bit. And he ended up making some plays by the year's end. I remember he, had some really nice blitzes against the Chargers both times we played them last year. I remember, actually, speaking of playing against the Chargers, he made a really, really nice third down stop. I remember he was lined up, I think, as an inside linebacker, and then the Chargers running back was running a wheel route, and Drew Sanders recognized it immediately and basically beat the Chargers running back to the ball, and he got tackled for no gain. So great instincts there. I'm really glad that he was able to, at least make a couple plays. And it sounds like this offseason he was going to move to edge because George Payton said that was, what he would be doing going forward. And yeah, it was a little murky because Sanders was like, I don't know. I thought I was brought in to be an inside linebacker. And then George Payton was like, I don't know. We see this guy as an edge. So that's going to be a little interesting. So what's he going to be doing now? The prospect profile indicates he's a rangy run defender who has impressive sideline to sideline mobility, who is a monster blitzer. Now, what I will say, with a guy that's going to be playing edge, it really doesn't make sense to me that you would activate a guy who is playing a position that's so reliant on athleticism and just being able to get that extra step. And you're activating a guy who had an Achilles injury. So A, they must feel really good about his health. B, they must feel like he can really contribute something to this team down the stretch. Now, you probably still don't want him in coverage. By all accounts, his coverage stats were not very good last year. And even when he had his breakout year at Arkansas, he still allowed a pass rating of 88 when targeted. So that still is a work in progress. I hope he can figure that out eventually. And I think he'll get a handful of snaps a game at edge. Maybe they work him in as, an early down edge specialist. And granted, Cooper and Bonitto, their run defense has been awesome this year. So I don't want to take anything away from those guys, but maybe it can lead them to being more productive on third down if you just, can have a guy like Sanders who can sniff out the run and play the run very well. But it wouldn't shock me to have him back on special teams for the playoff push, especially because the Broncos special teams kind of looks like it's being a little murky, especially because the Raiders converted that fake punt and they also gave up that 50-yard return. And had they lost that game, that would have been the biggest story. But Will Lutz, he's that guy, so it kind of makes the special teams look better by default. But the special teams has been great this year, so I don't want to, go off on that. But he could be a very, very reliable force on that unit as well. So he had 5 pressures on 126 edge snaps last year. Don't have a breakdown on how many of those snaps were actually against the run and against the pass, so not entirely sure, but that just feels like not enough to me. Ideally, you'd want him hovering at pressure rate that's not like 5%. So, yeah. Now, Josh Reynolds. This one is a little more... I feel like that the Josh Reynolds edition is going to be a little better because the offensive side of the ball is the one that's kind of more up and down. But I feel like he's going to be a huge shot in the arm for the passing game, a very underratedly big shot in the arm for the passing game. Another solid, reliable wide receiver body who will get most of the snaps on the outside opposite Sutton. So that's what he is. He's an X receiver, 6'3", 195. So hopefully he can use his height to, develop some chemistry with Bo Nix. And, we saw it a couple times this year. We saw some beautiful back shoulder throws to Josh Reynolds. So he's an intermediate specialist. He has a career average depth of target of 11. I think his average depth of target last year with Detroit was like 11.3, and the one with the Broncos this year was like 11.8. And he definitely does his best work over the middle. There have been a handful of times watching him with Detroit where he just takes a slant like 15 yards, 20 yards, and that's what he is. He's just a reliable dude. And he is really, really good in the red zone, and I think that's something that really could have helped us lately. I think having more stability at the wide receiver position, particularly at the X opposite Sutton, could have been really good for this team. And he had solid production in 2023, mainly due to his chemistry with Goff. And we actually have not seen Josh Reynolds when our passing game ended up being good because he broke his finger in the Raiders game. He actually ended up slipping on that touchdown catch he had against the first Raiders game. So once the passing game got going, we haven't seen Josh Reynolds in this ecosystem, and we haven't seen what he can do on passing downs, when we're throwing like 40 times a game. And he should be a boost to the run game because he gives 100% effort on every block. It's kind of like Devon Villay, where, he might miss a couple every now and then, but there's so many highlights from Lions fans over the years of him just giving his all on some certain blocks. And there's a lot of plays that would not happen had Josh Reynolds not been there. Now, I know he had some really crucial drops last year in the NFC Championship, but frankly, he was one of the unsung heroes of Detroit's season. Hopefully, he can be one of ours as well. So he should immediately take over the Lil'Jordan Humphrey dirty work role. He's another chain-moving guy, and as a weapon, as a wide receiver weapon, helping anything that can help the Broncos offense be not more explosive, but more efficient, it's, that's really what we need so far. And I think that right now, until the end of the year, he will get the second most snaps at wide receiver because, honestly, he's, A, I think our best option, and B, he's the guy with the most investment, second most investment on this team besides what you're paying Courtland Sutton. So you can take a step back. You can let Trey Franklin still kind of develop his ball control, develop his hand strength at the catch point, and, just let these guys learn. And you can utilize Courtland Sutton, Devon Villay, Josh Reynolds and Marvin Mims as your wide receiver group. Now, maybe Mims not at wide receiver, but Franklin, you could throw him in there as well. But as far as your other skill positions, your tight ends, or your running backs, obviously you're going to have Mims, who now is your best receiving running back. By some account, the teams that we were playing against don't even account for him when he's lined up in the backfield. So that doesn't make any sense to me. Like when he snuck out against the Raiders on that wheel route, that was absolutely beautiful. But you also have other guys like Trautman, Krull, Adkins. So maybe this diminishes the tight end production just a little bit because the tight end room has not been very productive at all this year. But I think it's going to be even less productive now that you have another reliable wide receiver body. But yeah, that just basically does it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.